I don't even know Chris that well as a person. I've met him. I mean, socially, I say hello and all that. I only know his work, which is, I mean, God, I know hundreds of painters and artists. And invariably, if I like an artist's work, I like the person. And if I find an artist's work is interesting, I think the person's always interesting. I don't think boring people can make good art.
Chris Woods is in there.
Oh, Chris makes very good art, yeah.
I think what excites me most about Doug Coupland's work is the fact that it's in the here and now. You know, he's dealing with elements that all of us deal with in the everyday, and in the same as his works, you know, have something of a parallel with mine, in that they look out into the world, into the modern culture, and maybe try to examine how it affects us as individuals and our circle of friends and family. Hi, Doug. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. So you got your new stuff on the wall, eh?
Yeah, I just brought it in today, so these have sort of been hanging around my studio for the last 2 or 3 months, and I finally managed to get the gumption to bring them down.
That's pretty exciting. I mean, I'll be honest, after the last series of paintings you did, which were expressly theological, tell me if I'm wrong here, you seem to have made a shift from dealing with religious issues to dealing with globalization issues?
Oh, I think that's definitely right. The last series, which focused on McDonald's, sort of, well, entirely in every work, I felt I'd sort of hit the peak with that, and using McDonald's to sort of to represent, I guess, the acme of consumer culture. So, and I know a lot lately that advertising has really had quite an influence on me, so I think I've tried to shift my focus onto that a little bit. With these 2 works, obviously that's apparent. Some of the other works I have planned will kind of venture back into not the spiritual realm, but in the sort of, that kind of pseudo-religious imagery. But I know these works, I was hoping to sort of expand on those, but I think they've kind of run their course in the 2 pieces here. And
really? I mean, but I'm sure your gallery operator will be wondering, hey Chris, we need 8 pieces for a show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've got works planned coming up. So, in looking at advertising, you know, when you're just sort of trying to dissect something and break it apart, which is what I've been doing over the past year or so, I've kind of really tried to boil down the central aspects of advertising and the way it affects us. And I've sort of kind of decided that, I guess the old adage, like you are what you eat, but I guess you are what you consume. So that was sort of the starting point for the current show that I'm on. And I wanted to use images of people in advertising, and then the people that are in the advertising standing in front, like you can see with the works here. I think that was a good place to start, but I think that's kind of a sort of a one-trick pony I didn't want to overdo that kind of, because I felt it was just sort of repeating myself. So some of the other works I'm going to do are going to deal with magazine culture and mall culture, and again, the Gap. I'm sort of focusing on them as they're sort of the new McDonald's, I guess, easily recognizable icon that is sort of everywhere.
There's this wonderful image in a newspaper. I kept it. It was from the battle down in Seattle a few months ago. And these people had smashed the front door of a Gap and had set fire to the, I suppose, the PK knit polo shirt display just inside the front door. And it's a beautiful, almost religious image. And I don't want to harp on this, but I really think that there's a lot of, and I think the word spiritual is overused. I think seeking is maybe a better word that happens in your work. I mean, these works over here we've just been speaking about. I mean, you're saying, oh, they're analytical, they're about advertising, they're about, well, to me, they're about having your soul taken away from you by some sort of system, and then having you to work either through money or through belief or whatever to get that piece of you back again. And would that be a fair thing to say? Would you?
Yeah, I would say definitely that it's spot on, because when you encounter people and you talk to people every day, it's amazing how our electronic culture is just completely ingrained in everything we do. It's just unavoidable in the way just people's attitudes and people talk, and I know I've been reading Adbusters magazine a lot. Well, not as much as anybody else would, and when people see that, they're almost kind of shocked. It's almost kind of a sacrilegious sort of thing to kind of to sort of say the world around you that you're used to and that you're completely acclimatized to may have elements in it that are that are not necessarily there to help you in your day-to-day sort of goings-ons. That there are elements behind it that you're being. I guess what these works really are about is the fact that advertising is it's like a chimera, like it's a big machine that is specifically designed to target you, like a missile almost, like a guided missile in some ways, and that, in some respects, it can be good and bad. But I think, people need to take time to realize that advertising just doesn't appear. There's much thought that's put into what your attitudes are and what people want to get out of you, what corporations want to get out of you.
Now, did you go to art school?
Yeah, I studied art. I was actually fortunate enough to, the high school I attended in Chilliwack had I would say it was a college level arts program. So I basically majored in arts there for my final 2 years, and then I studied 2 years in art at the University College of the Fraser Valley. And I actually had a more positive experience in high school than I did in the college. So the high school is really kind of what formed my nucleus as an artist and sort of kind of cutting through what's going on.
Well, okay, I guess what I want to lead to here is, when you were younger, what kind of art really knocked your socks off, turned your crank? With me, it was pop art. And this was 1970, and I was in grade 3, or at Glenmore Elementary over in West Van. I was going through the World Book Encyclopedia on the letter P. I don't know what I was looking for. And then, pop art. What is it? And they had a Liechtenstein exploding plane and a Warhol Maryland. And that was 1970, so pop art was really new. And you can just imagine the big argument they had over it. World Book of Ink, like, pop art, it's a farce, it's a hoax. But that was the moment I became pop. And I'm wondering if you had a moment like that in your own life.
It's hard to say. I've never really had a moment of epiphany. I mean, I've had small moments in my life where I've just sort of reconfirmed the path I've been on. I know it's hard to say offhand what artist may have started me out. I know the pop art, like you say, it's something that I did see early on in high school and when I studied, and it's almost like an awakening. You see it and you go, yeah, that's what I've been thinking about, and that's really the areas that kind of need to be examined, is sort of the minutiae of daily life. Like you say, Liechtenstein's comic books, or who would ever consider those as high art?
Is your family a religious family?
No, not at all. They've never been a church-going type,
Okay.
the church-going type. Or
Because I remember in your earlier work, it again dealt with theological issues. I think there's this one where a guy and his girlfriend are in a Burger King or something, and he's got ketchup in the palm of his hand, and she's putting a French fry into it like a steak. And then I remember you had what I think is probably the spark that ignited your career. Was that commission for Stations of the Cross. For which church was that?
it was for St. David's Anglican Church in Vancouver.
Okay. And you were, how many were there?
There's 14 paintings in the series.
14 paintings. There was reinterpretation of all the Stations of the Cross, seen through the modern secular lens. And then it was after that that all this other work just, ignited. And I don't think that, and I'm hazarding a guess here, I think that was already there, and that was just the experience which woke you up to it.
Yeah, I think that would be a a quite astute observation, because I know that commission really kind of made me step back. It gave me a year or two off of what I was doing regularly, and I mean, you can't help but be influenced by a project of that size. It took me about a year and a half to complete, and it did. I mean, I looked at it, not being a religious person, I took it on in the first place because, I mean, it's what artists have done, throughout history in Western art. They've painted religious themes, and I thought here was a great opportunity to, I'm being asked to do what Michelangelo and what every great artist from the 19th century forward was asked to do. And so I thought, well, there was no way I could pass that up. So that might have given me greater insight into what they had done, and I know it taught me a lot technically. It gave me the ability to do a lot of things that I didn't think I could do previously.
Did you ever expect to be a painter? Is that what you set out to be or to do?
Yeah, oddly enough, it was. I mean, I was always the kid in art class who could draw, and I was big into Star Wars, so everybody knew I could draw C-3PO and all the spaceships and stuff, and of course that was what I was excited by. So there was never really any doubt as that would be what I would do.
And how old are you right now?
I'm 29.
Okay, I'm 38, so there's like almost a decade between us.